you all. Um, so I want to start off by just emphasizing I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I am not a tax advisor. I want to make sure that you know that tax laws, estate laws, probate laws can all vary from state to state. And so just because something is allowed in North Carolina doesn't mean that that's going to be acceptable in another state. So I'm here to talk to you about the ways that you can create a legacy gift, really help you dream about what is possible. But I also really want to encourage you that it's extremely important that you do talk to a trusted advisor who is familiar with the laws and regulations within your state. Also someone who is familiar with your particular situation so that they can help you achieve both your philanthropic and your financial goals. So I'm here to help you dream about the philanthropic goals, and then hopefully you can take those, work with Karen on refining those, take those to your trusted advisors to document them, and they will help you ensure both the philanthropic and financial parts. So with that, I invite you to take a minute and stroll down memory lane with me. First, I want you to think back about the first donation that you made to NatureServe. What is it about the mission that inspired you to want to support it? What is it that inspires you to continue to give? What parts of the work resonate with you? How do you feel about the impact your gifts have made? What has made you feel really good, really warm and fuzzy, really proud to be able to say that you are a supporter of NatureServe, that you are helping make this incredible work happen? Some of you may be new donors just starting on your journey with this incredible organization. Some of you may have been giving for years. I hear that we have a few employees who are also on this call, so you have been deep in this incredible work. Maybe some of you have been able to give for years and have slowly over time been able to increase your support, or maybe some of you have been able to make a major gift for a specific project at some point, support some different things. But I would really love for y'all to think about, if money was no issue, no object at all, what would you love to be able to do for NatureServe? What would you love to be able to support and make happen? If you didn't have to worry about how much you were giving, if you didn't have to worry about how much was in your bank account, what would you want to see your support make possible? And would you believe me if I told you that dream might not be as unattainable as you think? One of the things that I really love about gift planning is that it's not just for the wealthy. It's not just for the people who are in the top tiers. It's for everybody. It is possible to make some really incredible gifts by leaving a gift in your estate plans that are so much bigger than you maybe ever dreamed could be possible. So when I say the word estate, what do you think of? Is this what you think of? Do you think of a big, sprawling manor house estate out in the countryside with lush gardens and manicured lawns? That's what a lot of people think of, but I have a surprise for you. You don't have to have a big rolling lawn like this to have an estate. In reality, almost every single person has an estate. No matter how large or small, it's still considered an estate. So if you have a retirement plan, if you own a home or a vehicle, if you have stocks or other investments, if you have a checking account, savings account, you have an estate. Insurance policies, if you are still working, then you probably have a life insurance policy through your employer. That is considered part of the estate. And these are all assets that you can think about when you are doing estate plans and thinking about legacy giving and thinking about how you can make these really incredible gifts. So I'm gonna get in the weeds a little bit for a second to tell you why it's important to have an estate plan, and then we'll get back to some of the fun stuff. So if you don't define your estate, your your estate, what you want to happen to your assets, the state will. I'm using this slide to show there have been some incidences where people who were very famous, who did have very large, complex estates, passed away without having documented clearly what they wanted their wishes to be. And then the state had to step in. This created a lot of heartbreak and frustration, I'm sure, for people who loved them dearly. It can be expensive as you have to sort through the legal process, especially if something is contested. So, for example, Billie Holiday had an amazing musical career, passed away without a will. She had been estranged from her husband for many, many years, but had never officially divorced. And so when she passed away, her entire estate, including all the royalties to her music, went to him. He had married and a few years later passed away. And unfortunately, Billie Holiday's entire estate went to someone who she didn't even know, went to someone who had married a person who was no longer an active and positive part of her life. Howard Hughes, when he passed away without a will, had over 600 people who tried to claim parts of his will. It took multiple decades, and ultimately his estate was dispersed to over 1,000 different people. Prince, unfortunately, also passed away without a will. There were over 6 years of legal battles for the 150 million plus fortune, as well as the royalties to his music. That 6 years of legal fees is 6 years of expensive, 6 years of legal battles is 6 years of expensive legal fees, court fees that did not have to necessarily, would not have been incurred had he been able to have a will that clearly documented his wishes. And Aretha Franklin had actually 2 handwritten copies of her will, which in some states is possible. Again, talk to your advisor, not accepted in all states. Had 2 handwritten copies of her will. One of them was found under the cushions of her couch, and it was disputed by her heirs. Again, dragging out what can be an emotional process, can bring up some painful issues between families, cause conflict, and incur significant legal fees. So one of the most important reasons to create an estate plan is that you get to see and talk about what is important to you with your family, your loved ones, friends, those who you love. You get to let them know what it is that's important to you. Let them know that they are that important to you, that you want to include them in your plans. And then also you get to make the biggest impact, because by documenting your wishes, you reduce the amount of legal fees, any sort of heartache that could incur if wills are contested. But I would even say more important than that, it's really important to share, because you might be really surprised at what is important to your loved ones. Might not be the most important, expensive item in your house. So I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story with this one. My grandparents, about 20 years before they passed away, told us that they wanted us to put our names on the back of anything that we wanted. Initially, we were kind of shocked and appalled, and we're like, why would we do that? That's so morbid. We don't need to do that. Well, over the next 2 decades, we got to talk about with each other what was important to us, why some things were important, why we wanted certain items over others. They got to hear that, they got to celebrate it, and were surprised to see what we fought over was not at all what they ever would have imagined. This little red stool was in the bathroom, their guest bathroom. My cousin and I stood on it every time we needed to wash our hands until we got too tall. It literally had a piece of tape with a 25-cent price tag on it from a yard sale. Obviously not a high profile asset. My cousin and I fought over this for probably about a decade until she found a blue version of it on eBay and finally let me have the red one, because she had one that would still bring those sentimental memories to her. So it's really fun. I know it doesn't always seem that way, but it can be really, really fun to talk about with your family What is it that's important to you and why? You get to talk about those most meaningful memories and moments. It can also be a really kind and loving thing to do to ease stress on your loved ones during a difficult time. If you have clearly documented your wishes, then your loved ones aren't left trying to guess, trying to fight over, trying to interpret when everyone has different interpretations and everyone is at a heightened emotional state. They don't have to decide that. So it lowers the potential for family disputes. You get to determine who will manage your estate. If you have children or pets who you want to make sure are taken care of, you get to define who will be the person to take care of them. And again, you may be really surprised to find out what it is that people treasure. The other great thing about creating an estate plan, documenting your wishes, is that you can also support the causes you love and leave a legacy. You can let your loved ones know which organization's missions mean the most to you and why. And that might also inspire them to want to support those organizations or get involved while you're all still able to volunteer together or experience things together. It gives everyone peace of mind that at a very emotional time, the people who love you the most won't have to make difficult decisions. They will know exactly what it is that you want. So I want to talk a little bit about the components of an estate plan. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail about this, but just want to make sure that you're aware. So a will or a trust are the most common, where you document with a lawyer what it is you want, how you want specific assets to be distributed, who you want to be taken care of and how, etc. Power of attorney is another part that is part of an estate plan. That's where you get to, and the medical directive or a living will. Those are where you get to say, if for any reason I'm not able to make these decisions, this is who I want to make them. This is the decision I would want you to make. Again, a kind and loving thing for you to be able to do for people during a stressful time. And then the last is beneficiary designations. So any kind of financial account that you have, retirement plans, life insurance policies, you designate the beneficiaries to them. So those can be distributed outside of the will or the trust, outside of probate. So that's another piece to consider. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the most common types of ways to leave a legacy gift, which are bequests in your will or trust and beneficiary designations. Those are the areas where it's easiest to leave your legacy plans, gifts for charities. So what is plan giving? You also hear terms like estate planning, estate gifts, legacy gifts, gift planning. You've probably already heard me use several of those terms already. We use them kind of interconnectedly in this field. Basically, it is any kind of gift that takes a little bit of planning. Traditionally, it needed an advisor. There are still some types of estate gifts that do need advisors, but there are also types of legacy gifts that you are able to do as simply as filling out a form. Plan giving is also a way to consider minimizing the taxes that are owed on your estate. If you have a thoughtful advisor, then you might be able to leave some assets to a loved one, other assets to a charitable organization, and minimize the overall amount of taxes that are owed for estate taxes, capital gains, etc. And this might be something that you've already experienced with the giving you're doing today. If you gift appreciated stocks directly to a charity like NatureServe, instead of cashing them out and then writing a check, you're able to avoid paying the capital gains on those assets. If you are of the age where you are required to take a required minimum distribution from your IRA, again, you can transfer those funds directly from your IRA to a charitable organization and not get taxed income tax on that portion. It also applies towards your required minimum distributions that the IRS makes you take. Plan giving can do the exact same thing. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the ways, the legacy gifts, to think about ways that you can document legacy gifts, but I'm again going to strongly recommend that you talk to a trusted advisor, an estate attorney, a tax professional, CPA, financial advisor, to make sure that what you are doing is set up for your specific financial goals and philanthropic plans. Don't be afraid to bring it up with them either. One of the things that we have learned in this field is that a lot of the advisors are not they're not trained, or they're not innately going to think, oh, I should ask about charitable gifts. When you're meeting with these people, please bring it up. If it's something that's important to you, let them know that. And we're going to hopefully give you some things to think about, some questions to ask about different types of ways that they can help you with this. But don't just expect that they will bring it up in their checklist as you're working through making your plans. Then the other great last part about plan giving is it's an opportunity to show the people and the organizations you love the most how much they mean to you. It's a way for you to show your loved ones where your priorities were and why. And it's an incredible way to be able to support organizations that you love in ways that you maybe never even dreamed were possible. So from here on out, I'm going to use the phrase legacy giving, because beyond this technical legal industry language, the real reason why you're here today is because you care about NatureServe and you want to think about making gifts that in your estate plans that reflect your passion, your love, your priorities, and we want to help you make that possible. So let's get back to the fun stuff. The true legacy part of plan giving. This is where the magic really happens. So what is a legacy gift? Again, I want to reiterate, you do not have to be super wealthy to leave an estate plan. It's not as much about wealth as it is about legacy. What is it that you really want to make possible? We have an incredible story in my current organization where a donor who was a teacher passed away. My mother was a teacher. Teachers don't have the reputation for having the biggest salaries. This woman left a significant portion of her estate to NPF, and we have received almost $1 million from this estate. And the really cool thing is that we have a project that she's probably going to help us make a historical site that has a school, a historically significant school, part of the National Park Service. So it's just a really beautiful way. You don't have to be super wealthy to be able to do this. Anybody can do it. When you think about overall your assets, it's probably a lot larger than you think. As you're making your annual gifts, as you're thinking about making a special gift to NatureServe, you're probably thinking about how big of a check can I write? When it gets to legacy gifts, you're probably going to be able to do something much bigger and more impactful than you were ever able to even dream about during your lifetime. Legacy societies are full of the most passionate and loyal donors. Legacy donors aren't necessarily, again, those top donors that you see at the very top of the donor listing in the annual report every year. People who are some of our most loyal donors, volunteers, people who give $100 or $250 a year, if that, are known to leave really significant legacy gifts. They're an opportunity for you to support the people and causes you love the most, again, in ways you never dreamed possible. Karen and I both worked at an organization where we had a donor who gave, I think, about $250 a year. And when she passed away, we found out, had no idea, but found out that she had left over $3 million to the organization. It's not just for those top names at the very top of the donor listing every year. Everybody's able to do it. Karen's also shared an example from a former NatureServe employee who had used this data that NatureServe is compiling and creating and analyzing, not only while at NatureServe, but then in later jobs. And it was so valuable to him that he wanted to make sure that other professionals had access to this same information. And so he's left a gift in his estate for NatureServe to be able to continue the work. A legacy gift is a way to align with your personal values, and you may inspire others. Again, I encourage you to talk to your family or your loved ones about your legacy gifts. You never know, as they hear that why organizations are so important to you, they may also choose to support these organizations like NatureServe. Also, by letting organizations know that you've included them in their plans and being part of a legacy society, which Karen will talk about in a little bit, you may also inspire other people to think about, oh, I had no idea this was something I could do. I'd like to do that too. There's also the potential to support the causes that you love in perpetuity. If you decide that you want to support NatureServe for forever, then you can designate that a legacy gift be added to the endowment. And what happens with that is that the gift is going to be invested, and then NatureServe is going to get access to the earnings of that investment year over year. The principal, the main part of that first gift that you made, won't be touched. It will always be there. It will hopefully grow over time with the smart and prudent investing that NatureServe will do. And every year, NatureServe will be able to take some of those earnings and put it towards the mission. So for example, if you give $500 a year to NatureServe right now, if you name the organization as a beneficiary of a life insurance plan or say an IRA, $10,000 is what you would need to generate $500 a year forever. Your legacy would literally live on forever in perpetuity with NatureServe. So with legacy gifts, you really can dream big, and I encourage you to. What assets do you have that your heirs might not need? Could be cash, could be stocks, part of a retirement plan, perhaps real estate, a piece of property. Or do you want to think about, I want to make sure that these people get these specific things. I want to make sure that this person has this specific amount of money. And then everything that's left over, I would like to go to the causes I love the most. And I would like the organizations to each get 5% of what's left, 20% of what's left. Even naming the residual percentage of a residual gift can be a really incredible gift. So hopefully now you're dreaming big. How do you make this happen? So again, you don't have to be super wealthy. I hope if nothing else comes through, you really leave this thinking, I can make an incredible legacy gift. I can make an incredible impact on the causes I love. So think about all of your assets. It's not just your bank account, not just your checking account savings. Think about all of your assets. Think about everyone you want to take care of and what would meaningful support of them be. It might be more sentimental than value. It might be a little red stool instead of the silver. Depending on circumstances, this is something I hear frequently from donors. My children have done extremely well for themselves. They're not going to need the support that I needed from my parents. And so I want to make sure they're taken care of, but they're not going to need as much as I had originally thought they might. Or you could have loved ones who might need access to funding for a wide variety of things. There's ways that you can set up so that people can get funding for specific purposes, and then anything that is left over could go to charitable causes. So then I want you to think about, after you've thought about all the people you want to take care of, all your loved ones, what causes mean the most to you? As you're making your gifts every year, do you support the same organizations year over year? Do you want to make a bigger impact at one organization, or do you want to give to several organizations? There are people who leave 100% of their estate to charitable causes. We have also had people who've named up to 80 different organizations in their estate plans. It's totally, what do you want? What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to make the impact? Do you want to think about, as you think about the impact, do you want it to be for a specific project or program? Or do you want to fill the gap wherever it's needed most at the time your gift is realized? Do you want to make one big gift, one big impact? Or do you want to ensure that your support for NatureServe continues in perpetuity? As you're starting to think about this and really thinking about how it is you want your gift to support NatureServe, I encourage you to reach out to the team, talk to Karen. It's much better to include her sooner rather than later, so that several reasons, so that we can make sure she can make sure that your gift is going to be used the way that you want it to be used. She can also help you with documenting your wishes, so that hopefully, these won't be seen until long after Karen's retired, I've retired, so that the team that is at NatureServe, when this gift is realized, will know exactly what you wanted. We want to make sure that it's clear, and we want to make sure that it's written in a way that the team at NatureServe can promise that they can fulfill your wishes. Then take your thoughts, meet with your advisor, tell them, I'm thinking about this. Is this the right choice for me? Does it make more sense to leave the rest of my IRA to my loved one or to a charitable organization? Would it make more sense for my house to just be sold, or for it to be donated as a whole to a charitable organization who could sell it and then use the proceeds? Your advisor is going to have the best advice for you on those. And then once you've documented your wishes, as you've made your plans, let the organizations that you're choosing to support know. They want to celebrate. They want to celebrate your generosity and your future intentions. They want to make sure you feel good about the decisions that you've made. And so they will keep you updated on what's happening, on what support like yours can make possible in the future. So where are some resources to help you with this? There are on here, and Karen will share these links with you as well. The organizations that you love probably have some pages on their website that help you perhaps with planning guides. They might have sample language. So go to the organizations you love, look at their websites, reach out to the staff. Anyone on the fundraising staff will be able to get you to the right direction, even if that's not the first person you talk to isn't the right one, they can get you there. I've included the NPF website. We have a lot of resources on our site that we are happy for you to use. I'm going to send Karen, we have a estate planning guide. I'm going to send Karen some copies of those. So if this is to help you document, get all of your thoughts and all of your paperwork in order, so that when you do go meet with your estate planning advisor, you get to save some time and money by not having them walk you through this. You've already got some of the steps already done. Your college or university, your alma mater likely has some great resources for you. There are also some websites like freewill.com, givingdocs.com that provide free online will planning resources. You'll also want to consult with your advisor or estate planning attorney. They will probably have some great resources. So for example, one of the links here that Karen can send to you is a fantastic resource from Bernstein Private Wealth Management. Other financial advisors, wealth managers will also have resources for you. And then also community foundations are some great places. So we'll get these links to you definitely so that you can have them. And again, the staff at the organizations that you love are a great place to start. So again, I'll get back to a little bit of logistics. We're not going to be here too long, but I wanted to give you some samples. So if you include a gift in your will or trust, that's considered a bequest. It is a statement in a legal document that outlines how you want your assets to be distributed. You can say, I want a percentage of my estate, or I want a percentage of the remainder of my estate to go to NatureServe, or you can say a specific amount. It's up to you. It is very important in these documents that you include the tax ID of the organization, and ideally also an address. That is because in case, hopefully, again, these gifts won't be realized for decades and decades. 50 years from now, NatureServe has changed its name slightly to something slightly different. There won't be any confusion. They will still have that same tax ID. We can still look up at the time that you signed this document, what organization was assigned that tax ID, what address did they have, and make sure that your gift is getting exactly to where you intended. Also, if there's a specific way that you want your gift to be used, you can document that and state that in your will or trust. A couple of cons to using wills or trusts, they do require a lawyer, typically require a lawyer. If you need to, if you have any changes, for any reason you want to change your mind about how you want your gift to be used or where you want your assets to go, you will have to update the will. Wills go through probate, trusts do not, so that can just take a little bit longer. And then also the probate not only creating the will or the trust, but also going through the probate process does cost money, so there are some fees associated with that. But there's also a lot of great pros. It's as simple literally as writing a sentence in your, a sentence like one of these in your plans, sharing that with your advisor. And again, you can be flexible, you maintain control of your assets, and you can change your mind at any time. We have no idea what the future holds. And so leaving a percentage amount of your estate or a percentage of the remainder is a great way that you know you are going to be taken care of. You're going to have full access to all of your assets if you need them. And if you don't need them, they're going to go to places you love, organizations you care about. The second one that I want to talk about, and again, these are the most, bequest and wills and trust and beneficiary designations are by far the most common ways that people leave legacy gifts. And that's because they're so simple to do. So with a beneficiary designation, it is filling out a form on any financial account that you have. So life insurance policies, if you're employer or you have a private life insurance policy, you can name loved ones as primary or set percentage recipients of that life insurance policy, and then name charitable organizations as secondary beneficiaries or as smaller percentages, as long as the percentages add up to 100 at the end. IRAs, donor advised funds, these are great resources to use where all you have to do is name the causes that you love, name the organizations that you love as the beneficiary. And these do tend to be a percentage of what's remaining when you no longer need those assets. Again, you can change your mind, and if you change your mind, it's as simple as filling out the form. So your plan provider probably has these forms online. You can log into your account, update them as needed, and as your needs change. I will say there are a couple of cons to beneficiary designations. They're not significant. I just want you to be aware. Please alert the organizations that you have included in your estate plans that they are a recipient of a financial account. There have been a couple of bad apples in the industry that have made it hard for charitable organizations to jump through all of the hoops. They've occasionally it's not everybody, they're just a small handful, but they have occasionally been really slow to notify the organizations that they're beneficiaries. And so if you alert the organization that you haven't named them as a beneficiary, then that just makes the process easier and will allow the funds that you have worked so hard and that that you've gathered over time to go and make that impact that you want as quickly as possible. One other thing about beneficiary designations separate from wills and trusts that I want to point out is that on these forms, you're not able to document how you want the gift to be used. So if there is a specific way you want it to be used, then you need to let Karen and the team at NatureServe or the other organizations know so that they can document it at the organization. They will likely give you a copy of it as well so that you can put it with your paperwork. And that way, when when your IRA plan holder alerts NatureServe that this gift is in the process, the team that is there at the time will know exactly what you wanted and will be able to make the impact that you imagined. And yeah, here's some information specific to NatureServe. Again, over 80%, I would even say more like 90% of legacy gifts are bequest and wills and trust or beneficiary designation account on financial accounts. They are just by far the simplest way to make these gifts. You can change your mind, you maintain control of your assets. However, I also want to be sure to tell you about a few other options. These are not quite as common. Um, they're a little more complex. These gifts are irrevocable, which means once you have set up once you've made the donation, you lose all control of the assets, but they can be extremely, extremely useful for the people who they are right for. And so, again, talk to your advisor, see if it's the right option for you. So these are life income gifts. So these are gifts where you make a gift to a charity or you create a trust. A portion of that gift will actually come back to you as income. And then a portion of the gift will be considered a charitable gift. Charitable gift annuities are pretty simple to set up. They don't require a lawyer. A lot of organizations can help you set them up directly. Community foundations can help you set them up. In those, you get promised annual payments every year for the remainder of your life. And then what isn't needed during your lifetime goes to the charitable organization. Can be a really smart way if you have greatly appreciated assets, such as stocks, that you can minimize the amount of capital gains taxes that are owed on those by setting up something like a charitable gift annuity. Charitable trusts are a little more complex. They are creating a separate entity, and so they do require some legal paperwork, filing with your state. So typically these are gifts that people will do for much larger amounts, but they also offer some more flexibility. So if you have multiple people that you want to take care of, or if there are multiple organizations that you want to receive the remainder of the gift, if perhaps you want your wealth to skip a generation, a charitable lead trust can be an excellent way to pass some funds on to grandkids, a younger generation, while giving them time to get a little bit older, a little bit more mature before they have access to those funds. And in the meantime, the charitable organizations you love are getting gifts. So again, very, very simplified versions of these. Know they exist, know their options, and talk to Karen, talk to the organizations you want to support, and talk to your financial advisors to see if this is the right gift for you. Then again, we've talked about this a little bit, but think about how you want the organization to use your gift. Is there a specific project or program that you want your gift to support? There might be something very specific that you really love this component of the programming work that NatureServe does, and you want to make sure that it always has funding. Perhaps there's not a specific project or program. Perhaps you just want NatureServe to be able to use the money wherever it's needed most at the time it's realized. Who knows? Who knows 50 years from now what NatureServe's greatest need will be. Other thing to think about is, do you want it to be used all at once, used in the first couple of years that the gift is realized, or do you want to provide support in perpetuity? Endowing your annual gift is a great option for a legacy gift. And then you can ensure that annual gift that you are giving every year continues in perpetuity. It's up to you. What do you envision? How do you want your legacy to be part of your legacy to be held at NatureServe? But I'm also going to strongly encourage you, especially if there is a specific project or program that you want to support, or if you want your gift to go into an endowment, I want to, again, it's even more important that you connect with Karen and the professionals at the organizations that you want to support, because who knows what the future holds. Technologies change, program needs change, program names change. And depending on how specific you are in writing your wishes, there is the potential that you're so specific that NatureServe won't be able to fulfill your wishes. We've had an instance where a former staff person made a gift to a specific project. They knew that, there was going to need to be support. There is a need for support in this area, but they were so specific in how they documented their wishes by saying, this regional manager has to approve the project, and this part has to be approved by this person, and no more than this amount can be spent. There were just so many restrictions on the gift that it became overly cumbersome and difficult for us to be able to say, we can do this. So just because that was the process that was in place when that person worked at the organization doesn't mean that that's how it's always going to be. And so you need to allow the organization a little bit of flexibility to make the greatest impact, because that's ultimately what you want, is to make an impact at the organizations you love. And so work with them to make sure that it is written in a way that they can promise they can do what you want, that there's enough flexibility that if things change, it's not going to be a problem, and that the amount that you are also considering is also going to be feasible. If, with the national parks, if someone said, I want to leave $1,000, but only if you create a new national park in my hometown, unfortunately, $1,000 isn't going to go very far towards the National Park Service being able to set up a brand new park. So there's also that kind of consideration that we have to be realistic about. Is this gift going to be able to truly achieve what it is you want to achieve? And we want to document those intentions with the organization. Getting into this next slide, and Karen is going to come back and join me. Why do you need to tell NatureServe and the organizations about the gift? That what I was just talking about with making sure your wishes, the intent, the ultimate goal of what it is you want your gift to do needs to be clearly documented, and make sure that everyone can agree, yes, we'll be able to do this. We can promise you that we will achieve what it is you envision. Karen, you want to go from there?
Thank you, Becca. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to talk to you all for a few minutes as we're wrapping up this webinar and this excellent presentation with, a few reasons why it really is important for you to reach out to NatureServe or any organization that you're supporting with a legacy gift or want to support with a legacy gift. And one of those is that we really do want to get to know you. We want to know what inspires you about making that gift to the organization. In our case, what inspires you about biodiversity, data, and conservation impact? Is there something that just really is incredibly meaningful to you, or are you a general supporter of our mission? And the reason that this is important in getting to know you is, as Becca has alluded to, things change. Staffing changes, administrations change, and in some cases, programs and projects change over time. So we want to be sure to, for your benefit and for the benefit of your legacy, the thing that is meaningful to you, we want to have that clearly documented within our organizational structure so that your intent, so that your legacy actually does live on. And the only way that can happen is if we know about it and if we know about you. And as Becca also said, any plan that you make now, you can change your mind. If things change in your life, something happens in your family, different priorities emerge for you as you age, that's perfectly fine. We are here to make sure that you are getting your dreams met, that your visions for the future of humanity and the world are being supported by your dreams and your legacy. So that is also important for us to know so that we can just simply make that change in our documentation and things are very clear and straightforward. We do here at NatureServe have a Heritage Circle Legacy Giving Society. A lot of organizations have legacy giving societies. And the reason for that, and the reason we want to know about your potential legacy gift and invite you into the Heritage Circle, is that we do provide really specialized information to our Heritage Circle folks. We stay in touch. We check in on if plans have changed or if projects here at NatureServe or programs at NatureServe are changing. We want to let you know that. So we do have special communication, special information, special support, and special attention that we give to our legacy givers that is really meant just for you so that you have what you need to continue making the decisions you're going to be making over the course of your lifetime in terms of your legacy giving. And of course, we want to celebrate. We like to know that our work is meaningful to you and to your family members potentially, and we want to celebrate that and help use those stories and testimonials that you may provide to us, or just your stories with your permission, to inspire others to think about legacy giving as well. As Becca mentioned earlier, it's really a very simple action to take, but most people in the United States have not taken it for a variety of reasons. And so we hope that this webinar encourages you to take that next step of dreaming about what you want to leave a legacy for, thinking about the simple ways that your gift, maybe the largest gift you are making in your lifetime, will be your legacy gift. And how would you like that to impact the future? How would it be meaningful to you and to your family? And of course, we also want to be able to reach out to family members and at the time the gift is realized, to celebrate and thank them for their support of your legacy giving. So for all of these reasons, we really hope that you'll let us know, help us support you through the planning process. As Becca mentioned, there are a lot of resources online, but there's nothing quite like talking to a real human being. And that's why I am here, and the philanthropy team and other leadership here at NatureServe is available to you to just help you think through some of these dreams, some of these actions, and to stay in touch with you over time. So I hope you have learned a lot. I think, Beck, if you want to go to our last slide, that would be great. And we are ready for any questions that you may have now. And you will receive a follow-up email with both the recording and the resources, and an invitation to have a conversation to get started with your legacy planning. But feel free to reach out to me at any time, now or in the future, to continue this conversation. And Melissa, I'll turn to you now behind the scenes to see if we do have any questions to address here in our last few minutes.
Yeah, so I have two to start, and then attendees, feel free as we're answering these questions. If something pops up to you, put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A, and hopefully if we have time, Rebecca can get to those before this hour is up. So the first one I have for you is, are most estate lawyers versed in the options, or do you have to go to a specialty financial advisor who specializes, or a specialty lawyer who specializes in philanthropic giving, to be able to take advantage of these opportunities and these options?
That is an excellent question. You do not have to go to an estate attorney who is specialized in the philanthropic side of things. I will share, though, that we have found in the field that a lot of attorneys aren't super aware of all of the options, because they might not do it on a regular basis. They might not be as comfortable talking about the options. And so that's where I encourage you, to ask, bring it up with them. If there is something that you're considering, like a charitable gift annuity, or you want to think about how the gift could make an impact, involve the staff from the organizations that you're considering. We are here to help you make the legacy dream that you envisioned come true. And we are more than happy to work with your professional advisors on talking through, what is the phrasing? What does this mean? We can help them understand maybe some of the nuances of different types of gifts, so that they are then better able to look at your particular situation and help you understand what could be best for you. So strongly encourage you, bring it up with the attorneys. It doesn't have to be someone who's focused just in the philanthropic component, but if they don't bring it up, you bring it up, and do not hesitate to ask a plan giving professional to join you to be part of the conversation. We would much rather be part of the conversation early and have you, even if you ultimately decide that leaving my organization and your estate plans isn't the right fit, I would much rather be at the table early and have you decide not to leave the gift than not be involved at all, because we really can bring more of that philanthropic goal side of your vision to the table, just like your trusted advisor brings that financial goal side of it. So definitely involve trusted advisors on the philanthropic side and the financial side.
Great, thank you. And then one more, and yeah, again, everyone, if you have questions, please chime in. But what is the most common mistakes you see people making when considering plan gifts or making plan gifts?
Again, I would say not involving the organization. It's as we think about an organization, it's really, we see something that they've always done. And so we think like, okay, let's set it up this way. That might be the best way to set it up now. That doesn't mean that 50 years from now, when this gift is realized, that that's still going to be the best way to set it up. And so involve the organization, talk to us about what you're thinking. We're not going to pressure you to do it. We know that your legacy is highly personal and it needs to be exactly what you want it to be. And so we are happy to be a resource for you, even, no matter what, but please involve the organizations, and don't be afraid to bring it up with your advisor. And then don't be afraid to share it with your family. A lot of people shy away from discussions about estate plans and end-of-life decisions. I understand why. It can be a daunting topic. It can be, a lot of people don't view it under the happiest light, but I would encourage you to share your thoughts with your family, A, so that they know, B, so that you can see your grandkids fight over a silly little red stool and get to have years and years of hearing the fun stories. And then you're also saving them some heartache during really emotional times. So don't be afraid to share.
Okay. Well, those are all the questions that we have right now. If anyone has a last minute question, pop it in, but otherwise, I think we're free to wrap up.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Well, again, thank you, Becca, for being our guest speaker today. We value your perspective and your expertise so very much. So thank you again. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us for more information or further questions or thoughts that come after the viewing of the webinar. And I appreciate all of you attending today. Thank you so much.